Learning a block Gemara. Today's daf is daf Kuf Yud Aleph. Today, Monday's daf is daf Kuf Yud Aleph. And just to remind you what we're learning so far, we're going through the structure, the order, the hierarchy about Yashni. So we said the son Yashins first, that if there's no sons, then the daughter Yashins, and if not, then it goes to the father. If not the father of the deceased, then the brothers of the deceased. And if there aren't any, then it goes to the uncles, the brothers of the father, and it keeps on going up generation to generation. So the last Gemara wants to know is a daughter Yashins. How do we know that a daughter Yashins at all? And so we have the thing here, the whole bas. It says we'll see later. We say Bavartim as Nachalosa. The bas says it's clean the Torah. If you may enjoy Ben, if you have no sons, then Bahavar Nachalosa you transfer the Nachla to the daughter. How do you know you yashin your mother? So all we know is you yashin your father. How do you know you yashin your mother? So it says in the end of Maseh there, we don't want a woman to marry someone from another Shevet because she'll be transferring the assets, the estate, from one Shevet to the other, right? Because her husband or her son will yashin her. So if she comes from the Shevet Shimon and her husband from the Shevet Reuven, so the son will be, let's say, Shevet Reuven, or her husband Shevet Reuven. If she dies, then her assets get transferred to her husband, as we learned about, or to the son. That means the assets of Shevet Shimon are not being transferred to tribe of Reuben. And we don't want like Sisar Nachal, we don't want Matal Matal, we don't want that to happen. So clearly from there we see that's how we know that a daughter Yashins, and how can she have two tribes? One is her mother and one is her father. So she's Yashins from her mother. Okay, so we know that a girl Yashins from her mother. So the Gemara wants to know, maybe the son Yashins the father and the daughter Yashins the mother. How do you know that a son yashins his mother? And there's no pasuk in the Torah that tells us that they do. So how do you know? So we make a kal v'chomer. So the only way that we know that a son inherits from his mother is a kal v'chomer. When it comes to the father, the son gets first. Surely when it comes to the mother, the son is stronger than the daughter. And if the daughter inherits the mother, then surely the son inherits the mother. So we ask a question, we have a rule when it comes to kal v'chomer, which means if you're making kal v'chomer, you cannot be more stringent than where you're learning from. So maybe when it comes to the father, the Torah clearly says that the son comes first. But when it comes to the mother, the only way that we know that the son inherits at all is because the daughter inherits, so to the son. Maybe they're equal. Maybe by a mother, they both inherit at the same time. So in fact, we have a Tana. Rabbi Chaya ben Akatzav, who rules when it comes to a mother, the son and the daughter are equal. When it comes to the other one says, we'll see later, we darshan agzer shava matters, that whatever happens to the father's estate happens to the mother's estate. Because we say that two matters, and since by the father's estate the son comes before the daughter, so too by the mother's estate the son comes before the daughter. Once we've established that a son inherits his mother from the kal v'chomer, then we move to this matters. So interesting, nobody the Torah says son actually yashin. The whole thing is a kal v'chomer. Reality definitely not, because we have no precedent that talking about a kal v'chomer makes them equal. A kal v'chomer never makes, that's the whole idea of a kal v'chomer. And maduch, something that's lighter than din is so, something stricter should be the same din. We don't say that it should be inferior. It should be the same. Okay. But the question is, so Chaya ben Akatzav came along and he said this concept of Dayilov Adin is Kenodin. How do we know? So we're up to another Gemara. This din of Dayilov Adin is Kenodin, how do you know that kal v'chomer, once you've introduced that a stricter thing has laws, how do you know that doesn't go any more than that? Maybe then you go back to it's stricter. It should be stricter. Well, how do you know that we put a cap? So the Gemara, but up to about 12 lines on the top of the page of Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, where it says the last word of the line is Dorish. The Tana Kama le Dorish Dayoy. The Tana Kama doesn't agree with the principle of Dayoy. How can the Tana Kama say that a son, when it comes to the mother's estate, he gets before the daughter? But Dayoy Daraisahu, we learn it straight from the Torah in Bahaloischa, when Miriam came along and besmirched the name of Moshe, and she harassed Moshe Rabbeinu, how come he left his wife and deserted his wife, and the Eibishter then decided to punish Miriam. I'll tell you another time. I think I must tell you why Miriam was punished, not Aaron, when they both came out and slandered Moshe Rabbeinu. Why Dafka Miriam had to receive the brunt of the punishment, and Aaron just had to witness it. And I mean, the Tanya we learned, Medin kal v'chomer, we learn a kal v'chomer. Ketzad Vayomer Hashem the dinner Kavachayim Vayomer Shalom Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu was pleading on behalf of his sister Miriam. So the Abel said to Moshe, her father Amram would have humiliated her and spat before her. How like to call her she was yummy for 7 days, she wouldn't humiliated. And then surely the Abel should be more than that, because Abel is stricter. Why 14? So Taisus gives two pshatim, but the second pshat is simple. All we know is multiples of 7. The moment that it's more than 7, then the next number is 14. But the first pshat Taisus is fascinating. The first pshat Taisus is that the Gemara says the Gemara says there are 3 partners in a person. There's the Eibishter, your father, your mother. So your father and mother is one group. The Eibishter then has to be equal to your father and your mother. If a father is 7 days humiliation, and if your mother, I guess, also 7 days, so you add the 2 up together, it's 14. The Eibishter represents the 2, is 14. I'm reminded by a beautiful story. I'll just show you quickly. When we went on shlichus to Caracas, Venezuela, the whole group went to Moshe Feinstein's house to get a bracha, bichel preda, and Moshe Feinstein told us an interesting case that he had a while ago. I don't know when it was. I'm going back now, Tov Shalom and Zion, in 1977. He tells us he had a case where the father was a surgeon and the mother was some doctor, and from family, and the son finished high school. He wants to go to Yeshiva at Yisrael and learn the rest of his life. And the parents wanted him to get a profession, to become a doctor or a surgeon, and had a big argument. So the son said to his parents, if we go to Rabbi Moshe and we'll ask him to paskin, if he tells me to go to university or go to Yeshiva for a year or 2 and then go to university, I'll accept. So they all went. The parents are not only from, but they also know how to learn everything else. So they sat down and the mother presented the case. And she says to Rabbi Moshe, it's a clear din in the Torah that he has to go to university. Because Acher Rabim Lahatis, my husband and myself are 2. He's 1, 2 against 1. You have to follow 2. So Moshe smiled. He thought for a minute. This is what he told us. He said, I told him like this. Gimel Shutfim Ba'adam. Every person has 3 partners. So you have your father, your mother, and the Eibishter. So he turns to the mother and he says to the mother, well, you're telling me clearly you want to go to university. So the Gashmi is part of you. The father and mother part of you wanted university. I promise you, the Eibishter is inside you, wants to go to yeshiva. So it's 2 against 1, go to university. Turns to the father, said the same thing. So 2 of you want him to go to university, and the Eibishter wants him to go to yeshiva. So it's 4 against 2. But this boy, all 3 parts of him want to go to yeshiva. He's standing right here and telling him to go to yeshiva. So he's 3. 3 and 2 is 5. 5 against 4. Achirab Malahatas, he got to go to yeshiva. But Taisus here says in the first shot that maybe the Eibishter actually counts like 2, not just like 1. So then even a stronger case. But the second shot Taisus obviously doesn't agree, and therefore he has to give another answer. Anyway, Eladaya love Madinas cannot. Why don't you go more than 7? Because the Kalvachemer, the father, we don't go more than that. Says the Gemara. If I have time another time, I'll tell you. Where does the father come in? Why introduce Amram into this equation if he would have spat at you? What's that all about? We're talking about an argument between Aaron, Miriam, and Moshe. Anyway, for another time. So you're right. But Vishani, you know, over here is different. Why the son will precede the daughter in this case? Because the Makro, it says in the pasuk Mim Matos, from the tribes. Matish Mata Aim Lamata of Matos is plural, which means that we equate the 2 tribes. Just like the tribe that the father comes from, the son takes inheritance before the daughter. So too, the tribe where the mother comes from, the son will take the inheritance for the mother. Gzer Shava is once we've established the son Yasha, the Shava then tells us the rules of the hierarchy. Mamata ben Kurd Labas, Mata ain't ben Kurd Labas. Comes first. Rab Nitoyi, now the Gemara continues. So Rav Chaim and Akotzev says when it comes to the mother, the son and the daughter are equal. Rab Nitoyi, Sovel Meveru, the Rav Chaim and Akotzev, Rab Nitoyi wanted to pass kin like Rav Chaim and Akotzev, that when mother's estate, the son and daughter should be equal. Amle Shmuel, come on, who are you following? Kizchaya, F is a Chaya. Wow, what an expression. He doesn't exist. He's a non-entity, a non-opinion. Rav Tabla, another person, Rav Tabla, wanted to follow Rav Chaim and Akotzev. Amle Nachman, my high, what's this? Why are you going to Chaim and Katzav? He's a lone opinion. He said, name of Rav. Halacha Chaim and Katzav. He said to him, Rav Nachman said to him, he's a very tough guy, and he uses this expression all the time. Zila Hadabach, you better change your mind. Because if not, I will take him out of your dwelling place or of your home. In other words, I'm going to put you in the Chedim, and no one's going to be able to help you. In other words, you're saying nonsense. Because he's saying in the name of Rav. We'll see in a minute. Rav Huna Barchia someone else wanted to follow Chaim Katsav. Nachman there's, fighting. He said, "What's this?" Rav Huna, one of the leading Talmidim of Rav, said name of Rav, Halacha Kirav Chaya ben Katsav. Amalei. So Rav Nachman said, "1 second. You know what? Stay here. I'm going to send a messenger to Rav Huna's house. He's still alive. I'm going to find out if he Taka said that, because I can't believe that he would say that." He was embarrassed. Why was he embarrassed? Because he wasn't 100% sure that Rav Huna said that. He thought Rav Huna said that. So he said it. That's what Rashbam says. Maybe another pshat would be, in Kuf Nova, the Ram brings halacha l'maisa, the longest Ram Mishulach, all the different dinim of Masav and Matan. So he brings there that you're allowed to make up a story. Toile be Ilan Gadol. If I have a psaka, I'm really convinced it's halacha, I can say, like everyone knows, Moshe said this. He never said it. Chavis Chaim said this. It never happened. But you toile be Ilan Gadol. So that's what he did over here. He was so convinced that's the halacha, so he made up a thing. The problem was I wouldn't have lived in that city that far away, so it could be verified. Anyway, that's why he's embarrassed, because he knew that he was just being totally Ilan Gadol. Anyway, Amalei said, Hashta, so Rav Nachman got really angry. Hashta kinoch nafshed Ravun, if he would have passed away, and you would have made this comment, you would have fought against me, and he said, "Oh, Rav said, Ravuna said this name of Rav, and I would have a fight." Luckily that he's still alive, so I can verify it, and now you're backtracking for what you said. Freddy Gemara, you have all of these Amoraim more saying in the name of Rav, and others that the halacha is Chaim Katzav. Why was Nachman so adamant that halacha is not like him? The you command Sagra. Ki had Rav Shmuel because Rav, you're all saying the name of Rav, but I know what Rav Shmuel is saying. Ain't halacha of Chaim Katzav. Interesting. Mistamich was Rabbi Yana is getting old. He couldn't really walk, and nor could he see. And he was leaning on the shoulder of Rabbi Simloi Yishmaya, his gabbai, his shamish. But also Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, this is not Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, this is Rabbi Nasi, the grandson, was coming towards them. Only so his gabbai said, or shamish said to him, "Bad Inish doesn't go on. The person coming to greet us, who yoi, he's handsome or he has good midas. The girl see, even his coat is nice." Now, what exactly mean by his coat is nice? Does it mean begashme? If you meant begashme, also it's a reflection that he is a chosh of a person. Remember, we had in Shabbos there that Tamid by in Bavel, their clothes because they dress properly. When he came to Rabbi Yanai, Gasha, he touched the coat. Normally, a garment which is chashiv, the minimum size of that material to be able to receive tumah is 3 fingers by 3 fingers. But if it's a sack, made out of feathers of goats or whatever, a sack is 4. It's cheap. He said, "I touch it, shiyure kisak. Then shiyure kisak. This is cheap material. What do you tell me he has a nice coat for?" What exactly this means is obviously there's some, these are allegories trying to say that he's not as. I'm not sure. They used to call Rabbi Yehuda Nasi a bezdin shehitir the shemen shalaku. Because they first asked the oil, and then so they used to make fun of him that he was a mekel. So maybe it has something to do with his coat. We have to just work out what exactly that is. Anyhow, so Rabbi Yehuda Nasi asked a question of Yanai. This very discussion we had right now. How do you know when it comes to the mother, the son also gets before the daughter? See, it says matois. So he holds like Tanakama, the Kabul Chaimed. The Kabul Chaimed just tells you that they're equal. But because it says matois, so whatever applies to the father applies to the mother. Makish, matein la mata. Ma mata ben galabas, the son before the daughter. At matein ben galabas, the daughter, the mother, also son before the daughter. Amalei said to him, 1 second. If you're comparing to Mate'av, then let's go a step further. When it comes to the father, the B'choir gets double portion. So maybe when it comes to the mother's estate, the B'choir gets double portion, and the din is he doesn't. The din is that you only get a B'choir reishes oinoi, only in the father's estate, not in the mother's. But if you do Matois, go all the way. Av Mate'im B'choir noitel b'shnayim. Rabbi Yana got offended. He said to his gabbai, "Good, schlep me away, drag me away from here. Les dain tzavi l'meil." He doesn't want to learn; he wants to attack me. We had a few times, different Amoraim were very offended if you challenge them. He walked away saying it's such an obvious answer. Why is he bothering me? He just wants to harass me. And you'll see the Gemara in a minute. That's not such a simple answer because whatever we answer, we slug up until we come finally an answer. So it's a good question. But Rabbi Yana didn't whatever. So the Gemara time so what's Takib shot? Okay, Rabbi Yana didn't refuse to answer. But how do we know that he doesn't get a double portion by the mother's estate? Omar Abaye says, Omar Kro. We learn from the pasuk. It says in the pasuk by the b'choir when he gets double portion. It says there that even though he, in Parashas Yisrael, right, he married a snua and he had two wives, and the second wife he didn't like, the first wife he did. Nevertheless, if the second wife is the one that had the child first, so you have to give him losses like pishnaim. You have to give him double. It says everything that is found by him, by the father. Why? Kihu reishis oinoi. And loy mishpar abchor. That's what the pasuk says. So Rabbi says, Amakar b'chol hashiyimotzi loy. Everything you find by the father. So loy v'leila. Clear that the whole din of bchor only applies to the father. So it's obvious. And maybe that's what Rabbi Yana was thinking. Says he, who said? Ve'mahani mili. When is that said? A bochur shenosa almana. When is that said? Maybe it's talking about a case where the mother already had her bchor from another man. And the only person that had a firstborn was the father. And therefore, in this case, is Yimotzi Loy. But if they're both of them married for the first time, if the Bocher never had no children before, married the Psula had no children before, maybe in that case there, even from the mother's estate, this boy who was born first will measure the mother. All the pasuk says is that he asked his father first. You assume that he's the first side for his mother and side for his father, so we see only the father. I'm telling you, Lavdavka, the pasuk is not out to tell you about the mother. Maybe the pasuk is talking about a mother who already had a child before, and therefore he's only a b'chor to the father. And that's why. And the chiddush of the pasuk is that even though it's a snua and so on and so forth, he gashes first. You can't learn from here that from the mother's estate also he yashins, that he doesn't yashin at all. Maybe because the circumstances don't allow it. I'm not going to be right. I'll bring another part of the pasuk. It says, Reishis oinoi. This boy is the first of his strength. So we dashin oinoi v'loy ana. It could have just said Reishis oin. You want to give a reason why the b'chai gets all portion? Say Reishis oin, the beginning of the strength. Why oinoi? What's the emphasis? His strength. To teach you a din. What din? Oinoi v'loy ana. Not the mother. By the mother, there's no such thing as a b'chai. Everyone is equal. Says the Gemara. No. We need that drasha for something totally different. You can't use it. You know what the drasha is? We know the din is that the mother miscarried. The firstborn who survived does not have din of b'chor about pidyon ben. It has to be petzerechem. So the pasuk says that this. What about when it comes to Yerusha? So even though he does not have the status of a b'chor as far as pidyon ben is concerned, but he does have the status of b'chor when it comes to nachla. How do we know that? What's the word oinoi? Oinoi means someone that you miss, someone that you yearn for, someone that you attach to. A child who, if a child was born and died straight away, or stillborn, whatever, died straight away, you don't really have those feelings for the child, the father, because you don't really know. The mother's one thing because she carried for 9 months, but the father doesn't really have any feelings. So the Torah says, when do we have the din of a b'chor? Only someone that was an attachment. Misha liba dovelov, you miss him, you yearn for him, you cry for him. You mourn for him. So Misha liba dovelov, a totally different halacha, nothing to do with how to teach you which b'chor gets, he gets double only from the father, not the mother. That's not what the point is. Says the Gemara, my question is still a question. It could have just said Eishes Oin and teach you the same halacha. Why have to fetch his? Im can later kraki who Eishes Oin. My Oinoi. I'm not talking two dinner from here. Now what? Side the din of about Yerusha if there was a miscarriage prior, and side the din that the din of b'chor only applies to the father's assets, not to the mother's assets. The Gemara is still not so clear. The Ema, Bakati Ema, why can't I say Hani Mili Almoin? Maybe an almoin should not psula. Maybe he's talking about that he already had children, shenasa psula, and he married a psula, and therefore, what do you call it? But a bocher shenasa psula, hachinam be the shakel. That if he was an almoin, married a psula, then he doesn't get If he was an almoin, since it's not his firstborn. So he doesn't get double, not by him and not by her. The pasuk is trying to tell you that if he wasn't Reishis Oinoi, if it wasn't his firstborn, not only doesn't he get the portion, he doesn't get by him, not his firstborn, but nor does he get from the mother. But if as a father, he is taka b'choy for the father, then once he's a b'choy for the father, then drag along, we'll say, well, the same thing applies to the mother. So maybe a b'choy still does get double assets from the mother. It says that H is oinoin, that's why he gets b'choy. That's only to tell you, but if it's not H is oinoin, he gets from nothing. But if it's H is oinoin, he gets from both. So the Gemara, that's why it says in masculine form, to him to tell you when does he get from the mother, only if he also gets from the father. So the Gemara, hello, my brother. So look at that. We tried a number of ways and we slug each one up. Rabbi Yanai, completely dismissive of Rabbi Yehuda to see his question, but you see, it's taka quite involved. And hello, my brother. Amakra loy mishpat hapchayda. What do you mean to him is mishpat hapchayda? What do you mean? Sounds like it's ubiquitous, universal. These are the laws of chayda. What? Always oinoi. Mishpat hapchayda isha, mishpat hapchayda isha. These didn't only apply to the assets of the father, not to the assets of the mother. But it continues, it says, when it comes to the assets of the mother, even though he yashins before the sister, but he doesn't get double portion. Says the Gemara, the man yashins his wife, but the wife does not yashin the husband. How do you know? The Ton Rabbanan, we learned. Now, there are opinions that Yerushas Habal is only Midrabbanan. The other opinion that Yusha Baal is only Rabban, but right now we learned a few days ago that there's Yusha Baal Mataita, and we'll see now here. Talk about what we learned. It says in Pasuk that if there are no brothers to the father, there's no uncles to the one who deceased, then it says in Pasuk when the satim is nachalosei li she'eroi, you should give it to the she'eroi, and then it says hakara love. So hakara love, that's what we used before. Hakara love tells you that people are even closer than the she'eroi; they get first, and if not them, then he goes to Shadoi. So we said then, before, if you remember one opinion, that first goes the son. And then, not the son, or the children. If not the children, then we jump back to the Shadoi, to the father. And then, if not the father, then it goes back to the brothers of the deceased. In other words, he's closer, the Shadoi is closer than certain relatives, but further than other relatives. So we made a break, and we decided that the son is closer to the deceased, to his father, than the brothers are. Even though the brothers take over by Yibum, but the son takes over two things, Yud and Zdeachuz. And we said, Klum yesh yibum, b'mokim sheyesh ben. Second one, now we're saying that she'eda, this is his wife. When it says, v'nasatem es nachalose, to the she'eda, we're talking about the wife. Now, the Pasuk says you should give it to the she'eda. Sounds like you should give it to the wife. Forget, the wife does yashin, but we'll see in a minute. So we're going to dash and we're going to twist the pasuk around. That even though it says lishe'eroi, we'll soon see how we do this. We say lishe'eroi, it actually means she'eroi, that the husband will yashim the wife. Yochav would have thought, maybe she should yashin him as well. It says right there in the pasuk, and he yashins her. Clearly that he only yashins her. Who yodesh oisa? But ain't he yashes oisa? He yashes her, but she doesn't yash him. What are we talking about? The pasuk says, touch the pasuk. You're telling me shady means a wife. So nobody. What's the pasuk saying? Give it to the wife, and you're telling me it means no. It means that the husband takes it from the wife because the yodesh oisa. How do you do that? Come along about it. He said, Tritzachi. This is how you read the pasuk, and he's going to divide the pasuk completely, turn the pasuk all around. We already had before that the psukim in the Torah are not written like you said. The psukim are not written in order because in the pasuk it actually seems to say the uncle gets before the father. So we said no, the psukim are not in order. But now we're going to say that the words in the pasuk within one pasuk itself are not in order, and this is how Baal learns the pasuk. Tzitzachi. This is how you read the pasuk. V'nesatem es nachala, give the nachala, skip the word l'sheidoi, and say l'karav elav. Give it to whoever is closer. And then it said, no, who's that? The husband. And then it says, she'edai v'yadashaisa. What about she'edai, the wife? Take the word she'edai and put it after the word karav, and then say, she'edai v'yadashaisa. She'edai, the husband yashes her, not him. Amar Rava Sakina Charifa Miskakroy, going into the pasuk and you're cutting it up, you're taking a word in the front and putting it. It's one thing to take the psukim out of order, but within one pasuk and change the order around. Ella, what it says, Rava. Hachi kamar. So I'll tell you how do we know take. And Sheiroi sounds like v'nasatim is nachla sheiroi loy. This is what he says. It says in pasuk v'nasatim is nachalos soy. He is nachla. Take the vav away from because the vav in the extremities. Take the last. It's called goydin u'masifin. Take the vav away from the last letter. Take the last letter of nachalos away the vav, and then l'sheiroi. Take the lamed away. And just say she'eroi. So you took the two extremities, you put the lam and the vav together, you get loy. And this is how you read the pasuk. V'nasatem es nachalas she'ed loy. And the Rav is happier with that. Abaye cut the pasuk apart. Here I'm just cutting the words apart. Yeah. And the Rishonim talk about he's almost as bad as Abaye. Cutting words apart. Anyway. So Rashbam says it's not really darshaning, it's as if you're happy with this. Rashbam says he's doing the same thing as Abaye did. I'll just quote what he says here. Ela poshte de kro ikele frusha. Rashbam says the poshte pshat and pasuk we can explain kilu goydin masif medoshim. Not physically taking out the letters. It's as if it says that. This is how you read it. In other words, titnu lezeha ish shetia nachlos. It should become his nachla. I don't know. So the Gaydin Masifin is not really Gaydin Masifin. It's as if it says that because we say not that it's already his nachla and we're giving it away. It should become his nachla. Is that Pashup Pshat and Pasik? Not at all. But maybe it's not so much changing words around; it's more changing the Pshat around, and we're happier to change Pshat around than changing words around. Anyway, back to the Gemara. Okay, so that's called we take letters off. And you add it on and medorshin. So even though the Gemara clearly says it's not just pashup pshat, grading masifin, and the pashup pshat is I can't remember because it's the outer letters of the word, it's prefixes and suffixes rather than the words itself. There's a big difference between a prefix and a suffix than playing around with words, and that's why I always felt that grading masifin you can do even though sakna kina charifa you cannot do. Says the Gemara, the high Tana Ma'aslach is another drasha. It says, "V'yorash oisa melamed shabal yodesh ishay." Simple. Rabbi Kiva says, "V'yorash oisa." The husband yashes the wife. Rabbi Shmuel Aimer, now Rabbi Shmuel is going to bring us 5 psukim to prove. Rabbi Shmuel said the following: Ein tzarich. I don't need a special pasuk. Just from context, from other psukim, you can right away see that a husband yashes his wife. Hari Aimer. It says in the pasuk. It says we follow. Pasuk number 1. In the end of Masay, there are a number of psukim. The Torah says it three times. That don't marry another shevet because then the asses will be pulled in, and we'd be taken away from one shevet to another shevet. It's an amazing thing. We're having more tinus. That the Torah not just says it once, plavot. 3 times the Torah says don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, and then the Chachamim came along and decided to repeal it and matzah it. And then they found a remez. So let's go through the psukim. Pasuk number 1. It says in the pasuk, "V'chol bas yoreshes nachla." Every girl yashes nachla mematois b'nei Yisrael. Every woman yashes a mat from the matois in plural b'nei Yisrael. Le'echad memishpachas matyavir, and she will bring it. The problem is she yashes from 2 different shvatim, and she will bring it to her husband, and that's why. Till she'll be a wife, and that's a problem because we're going to lose things. What does he clear from here? That a wife, how does the wife's assets will go to the husband? What's the problem? We're worried that the girl is going to, daughter of a shvatim, and then she's going to when she dies, her assets go to the husband. And so he clears from here, the husband yashes. Now the Gemara later is going to say, how do you know the problems are all about? We'll see. Like the husband, the problem is it'll go to the son. And the son now will be yashing from his father, from his mother, and he'll be the one who has 2 different tribes. We'll see. That's number 1. But say because he close me that it moves from the wife to the husband. Number 1. Number 2. Another pasuk right there. It says, "I don't want you to marry a girl from a man from another shevet. Because I want this is written in a negative form. Don't transfer the state from one to another." In a third pasuk it says, again it says don't transfer the nachla from one tribe to another tribe. That's 3 psukim already clearly it seems that it goes from the wife to the husband if she's from another shevet. Passing number 4. It says this is like a story, but the Torah doesn't say any stories unless there's a Muslim Haskell. Elazar ben Aaron Mace. Elazar ben Aaron passed away. Yeah, it says in Yeshua, he passed away. And Vayikbaroi said, where did they bury him? Begivas Pinchas B'nai, in an estate that belonged to Pinchas' son, as if the estate did not belong to Yeshua. Sorry, it did not belong to Elazar, but it belonged to Pinchas. How can Pinchas own something Elazar didn't have? El Malamed Shanasa Pinchas Isha, must be he married a woman who had her own, who was a Yiddish. She had no brothers, so she yashened. But Mesa, and she died, and V'yashen, he yashened it. That's now the simple question is, like a Papa will ask later, maybe he bought it. We'll see. Pasuk number 5, it says, Uzguv, Hoylid is Yoir. He gave birth to Yoir, who was a very rich man. By he Eloi, Esim V'sholosh Odim Be'ezegil. He was a very big tzaddik. It says in the one opinion, when it says 36 people were killed in Ai, it says it was Yoir who was equal to Rav of Sanhedrin. By he Eloi, Esim V'sholosh Odim Be'ezegil. He had 23 cities in Eretz Gilad. Yoir had it, but not Skub. How did Yoir own something that was Skub? Malamed Shanasa Yoir Isha V'Mesa. Right, that Yoir married a woman and she died. The Yosh and the Yash. Okay, so he brings 5 Psukim that shows the husband Yashins, the wife. Says why do we need 5 Psukim? One pasuk tells us already the story. Now, you're going to tell me very simple. Where do you know that it's the husband yashing the wife? Maybe the wife, the parents died. The wife, whatever it is, she yashed her estate, and then she married someone from another shevet, and not that she dies and the husband will take over. What happened was that she'll die and the son takes over, and then the father dies and the son now has assets of Tishratim, then his children. So now whatever, and the son goes after the father. The mother's estate now belongs to the son, who is a member of another shevet. That's the problem. How do you know it's the husband? Toshma, it says, what do you know the pasuk tell you the same thing? Why do you have 2 psukim saying the same thing? Must be one pasuk telling you we're worried about the son, but the second pasuk telling you we're worried about the husband. So I think, no, even she, let's say we know for sure she'll be childless. Nevertheless, she can't get married because it'll go to the husband. So the Gemara, who said that's what pasuk is for? You want to know why that 2 psukim? The first pasuk is an assay. This is the Torah said. This is what's going to happen. When you move aside, that's an assay. I don't want you this to happen. But it doesn't say no. It just says it's going to happen. And the second pasuk says v'lai, which is no. Tashma, you have a third pasuk. That's not right either. Oh, no, you would say third pasuk. Well, when you have third pasuk, well, it must be one for the husband. No. We had an Ezer Neshech, it says a number of psukim there about shouldn't steal, whatever it is, and we said that maybe it's taka to magzela, not about dribus other things. Why did I have so many psukim? To give you 2 lavin, get double malchus. Lavin olav v'shnei lavin vasei. So no raya. If we bring a 4th pasuk, Toshma ve'la'azib ben Aaron mes. Now, could be the same story there. Maybe his mother, who said that mother died, went directly to Pinchas. But why would the Torah then tell us, what do we need to know this for? Where exactly who's buried? What if no belonged to Pinchas' son? Because he was buried. The fact that it tells us it must be teaching a din. That not only the son of the father as well. I can tell me maybe Elazar married a woman, but Mesa she died. The yard to Pinchas, and Pinchas maybe Elazar married. In other words, we're going to say is that Pinchas, the pasuk telling you that Pinchas married a woman. That's what we said. That was Pinchas who married a woman, and Pinchas what? Yashin his wife. That's how it became Givas Pinchas. Thinking about how do you know? Maybe Elazar married a woman, but her husband doesn't Yashin, and therefore went to Pinchas. So even though, and why did Torah say it? Maybe it's in the Sa'ad Drasha. Toshma coming here, it says we should go over the Yoyer. It says in Pasuk that Zguv gave birth to Yoyer. Another Pasuk telling you the same story. Now, how did he get it without his father? Must be that he got it from his wife. Maybe the same story there. Maybe it was his mother, but the husband doesn't Yashin, it went straight to him. Even though it's a story, even a story in Tanakh has to teach you some halacha. It's interesting. We're not talking about the Torah now. This is a story in the Beam, and even there has to be halacha that we learn from it, which is interesting because you don't normally say it. Okay. How do you know? Maybe I'll tell you about Yodit. I'll tell you, you're going to finish this sugya. I'll tell you that a husband doesn't yashin. Let's go back to what you said before. But no, the husband doesn't yashin at all. If a husband doesn't yashin, And how did it? And why we need these two stories about what you just said? The Yoi, you know how Yoi got the property? Not from his wife. The Zovim Isbin. He bought it. Well, Pinchas Nami, how did Pinchas get the property? Not from his wife, because the husband doesn't yashin his wife. Of us, the Zovim Isbin, he bought it. Why can't it be he bought a property? He said, Omeles, Abaye told him, Pinchas, if you buy a property, the din is that comes Yovel, it goes back to the original owner. So it comes out that Elazar Kohen Gadol was buried in a place that eventually will be a different owner. He started out being buried in his son's property, which was a choshev thing, and then a few years later, he goes to some fremde guy. What kind of zilzul is that? Then when Pinchas is of and Mizman Lamasha, they can't say that. Maybe you could, but definitely Pinchas. Nim Kain gives so Nim Sa Sadich Chazeres BeYovel. The Nim Tzadik Cover became a Shaloi. Started out being belonging to given, his son. Going to be it's no longer his. But Papa said, okay. Remember that Pinchas was a kohen. Maybe what happens is if you put a field in the Hagdish and you don't buy it back, you don't redeem it. What happens then? It gets rid amongst kohenim. Or if a person makes a chedim l'kohen, and he got it, and that never goes back again, Yovel. So how do you know it was Al Tirusha? Maybe it was through as the dinim of a kohen. Okay, according to the Rashbam, the sugya is over. We don't know. There's no answer. How do you know that Bishmol's Rayas? Where do you see from here that maybe that's what Kiva argues? Because there's no hechlich to say that the husband yashes. Maybe it's maybe through the son and teach you two lavin and I say and those cases talking about kohen. Now, the only thing is, what about Yoyer? What about Yoyer? He wasn't a kohen. He was from Shev Menashe. So how do we explain that? Unless we don't have a problem with Yoyer because who said his father was a tzaddik? It's Guv. Who says Guv was a tzaddik? Yoyer was a tzaddik. He was equal to Reiv Dayan Bezdin. But who said that Guv was a tzaddik? So what if he ends up the property is no longer his? Comes Yoyer. Not a big deal. It's only a lozer. Can you go to Pasnish? Because the Gemara doesn't ask from Guv. The Gemara only asks from Pinchas. So according to Rashbam's pshat, the sugya ends and starts a new sugya. According to Taisus, and that's why, and the Gemara is very problematic because it has a few words like Taisus is a continuation of the Gemara, but we'll learn like Rashbam, it's a new sugya.